We all remember being horrified watching the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park, intelligent but deadly hunters, only to one day learn that actual Velociraptors weren't as scary as in the movies. They were actually kinda cute. But what if I told you that the Velociraptors we saw in cinema could actually be real and arguably even more deadly? I present to you the subject of today's video and one of my favorite dinosaurs, the Utahraptor, the deadliest dromaeosaur to ever live. Now first, we should take a look at the Velociraptor, a small predator around 2 meters long with a body covered in feathers. It was part of the Dromaeosaurid family, which meant running lizard. The Deinonychus, the dinosaur that inspired the Velociraptors from the movie, was medium size, around 3.4 meters long with a height of 0.87 meters. Speaking of the ones from the movies, they had a length of around 4 meters and a height of 1.83 meters. But coincidentally, the same year that the movie came out, Utahraptor has been named as a new species by John Kirkland, even though it was technically discovered way before in 1975 by Jim Jensen. The Utahraptor absolutely triumphs over other dromaeosaurs, with a length of up to 7 meters and a height of 1.5 meters. Other dromaeosaurs that come close to these sizes would be the Utahraptor or the Achilobator, or even the Dakotaraptor, even though it might not be a valid species, which I'll talk about later. The Utahraptor is still way larger, with a mass of 500 kilograms, compared to these other dromaeosaurs, which were lighter. My boy been hitting the gym. For real though, most dromaeosaurs were quite small, so what made Utahraptor this big? Well, to answer that, we have to go back to the early Cretaceous period, around 130 to 135 million years ago, to eastern Utah, what is now known as the Cedar Mountain Formation. Home to a lot of dinosaurs, such as iguanodonts like the Hippodraco, armored dinosaurs like Gastonia, even sauropods like Cedarosaurus. We could also find smaller theropods like Marthoraptor, which despite having raptor in its name was not a dromaeosaur but a therizzinosauroid. Notice what's missing in the paleofauna I just described? Well, there weren't any big predators living in this area, like Allosaurus, Tyrannosaurs, or Carcharodontosaurs. This allowed for the development of a bigger dromaeosaur, the one and only Utahraptor. Being the biggest predator at the time in the Cedar Mountain Formation, it managed to thrive and quickly become a true apex predator. And we all know that size matters.
What do you mean by that?
But what actually made this dromaeosaur incredibly deadly? For starters, all members of the raptor family have what's called a sickle claw, a really sharp claw, around 24 centimeters long in the case of the Utahraptor by the way, located on their foot, used to disembowel their prey. And in case you don't know what that means, don't worry, I had to look it up as well.
Disembowel is a verb that means to remove the internal organs, take out the inner parts, or gut a person or animal.
Although that might not be entirely true. You see, this claw was actually quite thick.
What do you mean by that?
Instead of being narrow like a knife, meaning it couldn't cut as well as you might think. That being said, it could still do a lot of damage, since it could have been used to stab or pin down prey, kinda like eagles, keeping it from moving while it uses its jaws to feed. Like Alan Grant would say,
"The point is, you are alive when they start to eat you."
Rest in peace, Sam Neill, you legend. Speaking of eating, we have to take a closer look at these jaws. Dromaeosaurs, like I said, are well known for their infamous sickle claws. I mean, I get chills every time I see one of these things. But the raptors had another lesser known strength, their jaws. Yep, while their claws are an absolute weapon, their jaws are what delivers the final blow in most cases, ending prey's life in a painful manner. Speaking of prey, this dinosaur should have without a doubt hunted down much bigger animals than itself, like iguanodonts. However, this is where the mystery starts to rise. At this point, you must probably already be wondering whether this animal was a loner or a pack hunter like in the movies. You see, one day paleontologists, including Kirkland, remember him, the guy that named the Utahraptor, found an incredible find, a huge fossil block containing an iguanodont and 7 Utahraptor individuals, ranging from adults to juveniles and even a hatchling. Now you must be thinking, well, isn't it obvious then? The Utahraptor must have been a pack hunter or at least a very social animal. Well, maybe not, because it turns out that the iguanodont was actually stuck in some sort of quicksand, so it's highly possible that the Utahraptors might have set some kind of trap where the prey would get stuck, waiting to be eaten. But it is also very likely that the animal in trouble just attracted a lot of predators which came by one to feed and ended up being stuck as well. Now if it was an actual attempt at trapping the prey, it might be one of the most well-preserved predator traps ever found. Not to mention that Deinonychus has also been for a long time considered to be a pack hunter, even if that's also debated. And other fossils similar to this mud trap have been discovered before, so Utahraptor was maybe a somewhat social animal after all. We have to keep in mind that dinosaur behavior can only be theorized because, well, they're gone, so we can never be 100% sure about anything. We can assume though that this dino was more likely to be an ambush predator, stalking its prey rather than hunting it down in the traditional way like Velociraptor or Deinonychus. Taking the approach that this raptor was a pack hunter, it would allow for some crazy scenarios, maybe scarily similar to the raptors in Jurassic Park, maybe even up to the point where it could hunt sauropods, just maybe, you never know. Pack or no pack, this dinosaur remains very deadly as it is a mix of agility and big size. But unfortunately the Utahraptors came to an end and got dethroned, because as the Cretaceous went on, larger theropods started to appear, such as Carcharodontosaurs or even tyrannosaurs like the mighty T-Rex. They could have been the reason why Dromaeosaurs got smaller like the Velociraptor, since they started to lose the advantage of being bigger. However, remember what I said about Dakotaraptor, whether it's real or not? Well, that's because some assume that Dakotaraptor is a chimera, meaning that its remains were actually a mix of different animals, which leads to believe that this dino might not have been real. But in the remains, a large sickle claw has been found, so it is possible that a huge Dromaeosaur lived in the Hell Creek formation where the fossils were discovered. Maybe not exactly Utahraptor, but something similar. It could have also been a Megaraptoran though. If you didn't know, Megaraptorans are different dinosaurs from Dromaeosaurs, which were bigger and arguably scarier. Let me know if you want me to make a video about them. All of this info is actually a bunch of theories and stuff because, as you all know, it is quite hard to figure out things about dinosaurs. But hey, at least we try and our understanding just keeps getting better. Who knows what discoveries and new dinos we'll see in the future? Until then, you could, subscribe not to miss any good dinosaur news. Hope you enjoyed this video, leave a like if you did, and comment down how many Utahraptors you think it takes to take down a T-Rex. Speaking of T-Rex, you might want to watch this video to learn the truth about the king of dinosaurs. Or this one to learn more about the Velociraptor. Until then, see ya.